Thank you for your time. We're now coming up to Rich Dad's 10 Steps to Financial IQ, and we're now going into lesson number 1. The way this works is you just watch this DVD. It'll probably go maybe 15, 20 minutes at the most. Then I'm going to ask you to discuss amongst yourselves. The reason we ask people to discuss, again, goes back to the cone of learning, which is how we learn, and is participate in a group discussion. As you know, 2 minds are better than 1 except in school. And as I always say, if I had discussion in school, it was called cheating. And in real life, it's called cooperation. And that's how I learn the most, because everybody has a different point of view that you can listen to and different take on something. So that's why I like participatory learning. So in big picture number 1, what I do, I'm going to take a lot of the sacred cows of the middle class. And what I mean by the sacred cows of the middle class is they say, you know, my poor dad always said, go to school, get good grades, get a safe, secure job, save money, live below your means, invest in mutual funds, and diversify. And the only thing I really hated about that is that I don't like living below my means. You know, how many people don't like living below your means? I mean, I hate it. I like nice cars. I like nice clothes. I like private jets. You know, that's what life is for. This is heaven on earth here. But some people make it hell on earth, living below their means. What else doesn't make sense to me is a rich person who has a lot of money and lives poorly. I mean, that's nuts. And there's a lot of guys who did that. They had billions of dollars, but they pinched every penny. That to me is making money God. So I am not that person either. You know, I am here to enjoy my life, enjoy money. You know, if somebody's flying by a private jet, I want to fly by a private jet. Somebody has a Maserati, I want a Maserati. Somebody's eating in a great restaurant, that's what I want. But I don't want to do it stupidly. Because how many people know people who are trying to look rich but are deeply in debt? Now that's financial insanity. You know, I don't stand for that either. So I'm going to take some of the sacred cows of the middle class. As you know, there's 3 basic classes wherever you go in the world. Even in America, there's the poor, there's the middle class, and there's the rich. And what the middle class generally subscribes to is go to school, get good grades, get a safe, secure job. So the first thing here is I'm going to shoot the sacred cow called go to school and get good grades. My poor dad said that to me over and over and over. Go to school and get good grades. Go to school and get good grades. So I went to school. I didn't get good grades, but I finally got through it. You know, I was a C- student. I got all the way through my Bachelor of Science degree. I just did to keep the old man happy and the mother happy, you know. Oh, my son graduated from college, you know. And some people say I'm the first to graduate from college. Well, in our family, you know, for generations, they all graduated from college. My family in Japan were all medical doctors. So getting to college is not big a deal. The other advantage I have is in my entire family, once they immigrated to Hawaii 4 generations ago back in the 1880s, they became school teachers. And I lived among school teachers. And so I understand school teachers. Really, they're nice people, you know, but I'm going, you know, as a kid, how many people have kids that question what you say to them? Yeah, and I was just questioning, you know. I said, well, you went to school, you got good grades, and you're broke. You know? Well, money's not that important to me. So anyway, so instead of go to school and get good grades, which my poor dad said, my rich dad always said, my banker has never asked me for my report card yet. Okay, so here I am again, this young kid. I was having trouble in high school. I flunked out when I was 15 and 17. I did graduate, but I flunked out of English because I couldn't write. Now, it's ironic, I've been on the New York Times bestseller list for over 6 years now as a writer. I really deserved to flunk. It was a good lesson, it was a good wake-up call. When I got to college, I became an A and B student in English, but it was a good wake-up call. So that's my poor dad, he didn't really say that much to me. He says, well, you flunked out, that means you'll be in your sister's class. And if you keep flunking up, you'll be in your younger brother's class. You know, they're going forward, you're going backwards. That was all he said to me. And that was, you know, he knew that to be in my sister's class, that would be horrible. So I graduated anyway. So, and my rich dad said to me, he says, Robert, you better shape up. You know, he says, you need to have good education. So he did support education. But he says, just remember this, my banker has never asked me for my report card. My banker's never asked me for my grade point average, never asked me what school I went to, never asked me for my major. He says, the difference is when what your banker asks you for is your financial statement. And the reason the cash flow game was developed was not so much, this is not really the game board, but this is the game board here. And this is my model of a financial statement. Now your accountant would probably take offense with this, but I had to condense it down. The hard part was making this simple enough so that students, all the financial education is locked inside this game. So in here, you play this game. So this is investing, and this is accounting. Investing, for many people, is the most frightening subject on earth. Oh, what if I lose money? What if I fail? I want to put it in a nice, safe, diversified portfolio of mutual funds and lose everything. But I'm happy there. And this here is accounting. So this is boring, and this is terrifying. And you put the two together, and you have a game. Now the problem was this game was first played in October of 1996 as a commercial version here, but it went through many incarnations in the development of it. Initially there was one big game. It was too hard. Nobody could play the game. So I had to keep dumbing it down, dumbing it down, dumbing it down. That's why we have two games now. We have Cash Flow 101, which is this product right here, and then we have Cash Flow 202, which is another product. Okay, and you'll know more about that, and over the 10 steps, you will be learning how to play both games and some of the information designed into it. So going on in this, the reason my rich dad said my banker hasn't asked for my report card is because when you look at education, there's three kinds of education. Number one is academic. This is reading, writing, and math. Very, very important, to learn. Okay. Second is professional education. And when I was in high school back in the 60s, if you did well academically, then everybody wanted your son to be a doctor. Today, if you do well in school, they want you to be a pro football player. So anyway, my poor dad, this was my poor dad, he thought this is all you needed to be successful. And it was true back prior to 1970. That was true. This is all you needed. Because back then you could get a job, the company, and they stay there for your life, and there was a pension for you and all this stuff, and you didn't have to know much about finance. Because you work for General Motors, you work for the sugar plantations in Hawaii, or you work for the government. They took care of you. But in 1974, things started to change, and that's when this thing called the Erisa Act was implemented, which today is now known as a 401k. And a 401k was basically the rich way of saying to all employees, we can't afford you anymore. That retirement is too expensive. Your medical is too expensive. So in 1974, the rules changed. Unfortunately, the school systems did not change. School teachers still have a safe, secure job, they have a government pension and all this, so they don't understand why people need the third type of education, which is financial. So the difference here is this here is what my poor dad thought was important, and this is my rich dad. And if you look at Donald Trump, he and I both had rich dads and things like this, but he went on to Wharton Business School to understand finance. I didn't have, I went in the Marine Corps to fly helicopters in Vietnam. It's a different education path. So what the Rich Dad Company is, we're not about this. The Rich Dad Company is here. And that's why the cash flow board game was created, as well as this financial statement. And I'll say it again, this is the rat race. This is where most people are stuck at. They have a job, or they're a doctor or lawyer, invest in mutual funds to try and save money, get out of debt. And this is the fast track. You have to have high financial IQ to be out here and over here. Does that make sense, you guys here? So those are some of the differences. So the reason we create the cash flow clubs is we can have people teaching people. You don't have to go to Harvard. You don't have to go to Wharton. You can teach yourself and teach others. It's people helping people. That's what it's designed to do. I know some people who are learning this game have more money than me, and I'm glad they're learning. And some people have no money. But the real design of the cash flow club system was to make it available for everybody, whether they had money or not, whether you're deeply in debt or not. And so the cash flow club owners, the people who put this on, their job is simply because they want to help people. You can have no money, sit there and play. Kim and I have been deeply in debt, almost $1 million, so we understand. That's why we have this product over here, is how we got out of debt. It's Kim and I, a real story, how we got out of debt. Donald Trump was in debt nearly $1 billion. So being in debt's not that shameful of a thing. It is shameful if you keep doing the same thing that gets you deeper in debt. Things like this. So we understand. So Rich Dad stands for here, and I'll just show you the basics of financial education. And this here is it. This is income statement and balance sheet. This is income, expense, assets, and liabilities. And when I was 9 years old, my rich dad used to draw for me. He said there are 3 essential reporting forms you must know for your financial intelligence. This is one. This is called an income statement. This is called a balance sheet. And there's one more, and it's called the statement of cash flow. So those are your 3 essential things to know as far as your financial IQ goes. Like I said, 90% of the people don't know about this. Many CEOs, CFOs really don't understand the statement of cash flow. So when you look at this here, which is part of the cash flow game, this is the most important part. Here's your income statement, here's your balance sheet, and here's your statement of cash flow. Cash flow is the single most important word in business and accounting and all this. Because cash flow determines if something is an asset or a liability. And very simply, what my rich dad taught me was this: assets put money in your pocket whether you work or not. Okay? So this is the cash flow pattern of an asset. So let's say it's a house I own, or it could be a business, or it could be a patent or something. Every month, it puts money in my pocket. And this is the cash flow pattern of a liability. So when a banker asks you for your report card, which is your financial statement, they don't ask you for your grades. They want to look at this. They want to see how many liabilities you have and how many assets you have. They want to see your expenses. Basically, a banker is asking to see your financial IQ. High liabilities. You know, like my poor dad always said his house was an asset. You know, my car is an asset. Those are all liabilities. You know, I paid off all the debt in my house. But you still have upkeep and you still have taxes on your house. You know, still a liability. So when a banker looks at this, as if you're a complete moron, they'll ask you to give you a credit card. You know, today anybody can get a credit card. You know, and they go, oh, I got a credit card. They run off and they get deeper in debt. Does that make sense, guys? Here? The other thing too is if you go to a banker and the banker asks you for a financial statement and you say you don't have one, which 90% of the people do not have one, the banker knows you're an amateur. Because pros have financial statements. You know, when I go to my banker, they're going to ask for 3 years financials audited, which brings up this point right here. When I see people playing this game, they don't put auditor here. This is the person that what that shows me, games reflect behavior. When I look at a game, I can, you know, if you see somebody swinging their golf club like that, that's behavior. You see somebody taking out a driver when they're in the putting range, that's behavior. It means they're real stupid, you know what I mean? They don't know what they're doing. When I see somebody doesn't put an auditor here, I know it's not even in their consciousness. You see, one of the most important people on your business team should be an auditor or a bookkeeper or somebody who's going to look at you. This company, Rich Dad's company, our financial statements are audited every year. That's somebody who is higher authority, not affected by us, comes in and audit. So every time when I go around and I watch these games, I see people not putting auditor in here. I know they're an amateur. And they don't even know they don't know. So when I look at this financial statement, I look at this. This is your report card. The banker's going to look at this and go, income, expenses, assets, liabilities, cash flow. That's what they look at. This shows whether you're smart or stupid financially. Does that make sense, you guys here? And that's it. That's all you really have to know. So the more you play this game, you play it 10 times, like hopefully you will last the 10 lessons. Take a lesson, play the game, take a lesson, play the game. I think this will become more and more clear to you. Like I said, when you look at the cone of learning over here, you're assimilating the real experience, participating in group. Very smart thing to do. It's unintelligent to just read and listen to a lecture. But that's what 90% of the population does. Does that make sense, you guys here? Yes. So that's lesson number 1. That's why your banker does not ask you for your report card, because the banker doesn't care. If you're going to be financially savvy, you need to have a financial statement. You have to know how the numbers work. You have to know the vocabulary and the number. What's the difference between the home mortgages, you know, the call it price equities or debt liquidity ratios, and those are more advanced. You'll learn. They want to know how much income, how much expense ratios you have. But that comes later on. Right now, you want to know this and how cash is flowing, and cash flowing reflects right here. That's why the game is called what? Cash flow. that clear, everybody here?
Yes.
Thank you. That's lesson number 1. Now, please discuss amongst yourself for a few minutes the lesson. Keep an open mind. You know, I don't want you to agree or disagree with me. I just want you to hear what I'm saying and then play the game. And at the end of the game, again, have another group discussion and come back for lesson number 2 later. Thank you very much.